אלוהי בך בטחתי על אבושה אל יעלצו אויבי לי גם כל כובך לא יבושו הבוגדים ריקם דרכיך אדוני הודיעני אורחותיך למדני הדריכני בעמיתך ולמדני כי אתה אלוהי אישי אותך קיוויתי כל היום.
Yes, you can find us on our Tshuva Music channel. Start in 30 seconds. Questions after the shiur. B'Shem HaShem na'aseh v'natzliach, shiur Torah, bruchim habayim. We're back here on our Wednesday night, Stump the Rabbi, where after some divrei Torah, you guys will ask some questions, and Be'ezrat Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. Tonight's shiur is going to be for the Refuah Shlema and Hatzlacha Rabbah. For Rabbi Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Avi Mori, David ben Nesriya, Imi Morati, Doris bat Jora, and all of Am Yisrael and all the righteous Noahides that continue to support the organization, continue to learn with us, and anyone else that wants to be part of this amazing organization and all the amazing things that we're doing. You can donate on our website, be'ezrathashem.org or bhtorah.org. These are a couple of the main websites, but of course, if you're a Spanish speaker, you can go to our bhspanish.org website. And if you haven't signed up to our app of AI Rabbi at airabbi.org on the App Store, you're simply missing out of getting endless answers for your amazing questions. Rabotai Karim, why did Korach lose all of his money? That's a fair question. Why did Korach lose all of his money? And in fact, what will you leave in this world? A lot of people are spending most of their days chasing money. And in fact, as people age, they become more and more concerned about leaving a legacy or something special in this world, before they die. They want to leave an inheritance. They want to leave a building with their name on, a synagogue. They want to leave all types of things. Some people simply want to leave their ideas, their business. In Parashat Korach, we learned that despite Korach's enormous wealth, not a penny of it was left in this world. The question is why? Ever think about this? Korach was the sinner. Korach was a Rasha, which we'll talk about tonight. But wouldn't it have been better to leave his money and distribute it among Am Yisrael to use to build maybe the Beit HaMikdash? That was very, very expensive. Anyone that knows some of the details about the Beit HaMikdash, was an enormous amount of gold. After it was destroyed, when the Imach Shimam V'Zichram, the enemy, took out all the gold out of the Beit HaMikdash, the entire gold market crashed because of such an enormous new supply added to the market. So Korach was wicked, but the trillions of dollars that he had did not have a soul or a body to sin with. So why waste so much money? Why did HaShem have to bury him in Gehinnom and also take all of his stuff? Now, while the question seems trivial, the answer is actually a deep lesson about the temporary amount of time that we have in this world, which we call life, and the special message to all of those wonderful people that are very busy building a legacy. And this will be followed by your questions and answers, Bezrat Hashem, which I'm looking forward to. ויקח קורח בן יצהר בן קהת בן לוי ודתן ואבירם בני אליהו ואון בן פלט בני ראובן. ויקומו לפני משה והאנשים מבני ישראל 50 ו200 נשיאי עדה קורא מועד אנשי שם. Korach, the son of Yitzhar, son of Kohat, son of Levi, separated himself with Datan and Aviram, the son of Eliav, and On ben Pelet, the offspring of Reuven. They stood before Moshe with 250 men from the children of Israel, leaders of the assembly, those summoned for meeting, men of renown. So first, we see that Korach separated himself. What does that mean? Korach went against the Torah. Korach went against his rabbi, Moshe Rabbeinu. Korach went against Hashem. But he didn't go there alone. He brought friends, wicked friends named Datan ve'Aviram. On ben Pelet initially was part of the crew until his wife, as the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 110 says, wife saved his life by convincing him not to go. Any smart woman that wants to get what she wants from a husband knows how to be a woman. If you don't know how to be a woman, ask your mother how to be a woman. How did she get the stuff she wanted from your father? The refrigerator, the car, the extra dress she doesn't need. A woman needs to know how to get certain things done, because one day she may need to save her husband from something stupid that he wants to do, and she'll have to use those same clever tricks to convince her husband to not do those foolish things. Isha buna, isha oreset. The Gemara says there's a woman that builds, a woman that destroys. Some women think they're building by consuming more and more dresses and bags and cars and planes and all types of things, but in reality, all that time, she's destroying her marriage because it's become such a materialistic marriage that her husband is viewed as an ATM machine, a bank account. It's no surprise people have become accustomed to getting divorced multiple times. But On ben Pelet had a good wife who wanted his benefit, and therefore she convinced him by first telling him that joining Korach is not going to get you anything that you want anyway. Even if Korach wins, you're still going to be in the same position. Why go? Why go against Moshe Rabbeinu? Yes, but I swore and I said, don't worry. Come, I'll make you some good food, your favorite food. I'll give you some wine. And you go to sleep. And that's what happened. What about all those people from Korach's camp that came to pick him up? On ben Pelet's clever wife knew that they thought of themselves as righteous people. There were 250 men, leaders of the assembly, that were summoned to meetings, men of renown. These were leaders. These Reshaim were leaders. They were made leaders by Moshe Rabbeinu, meaning these were the Talmidim of Moshe Rabbeinu, 250 rabbis that chose the wrong side because they thought they had something to gain. But On Ben Pelet's wife said, when they're going to come, I'm going to take my mitpachat, my mitpachat, the handkerchief that I have on my hair. There was no wigs at that time, Baruch HaShem. Bezrat Hashem, there won't be wigs when Mashiach comes either. I promise you that. And On Ben Pelet's wife said, I'm going to take my kerchief off, start brushing my hair inside the house, not outside, but at the entrance. So as soon as they come in, they see who's at the front of the house brushing their hair. Immediately, they're going to run away because these are rabbis. Not like the Rasha rabbi that is making an enormous Chilul Hashem for all of the disgusting text messages and harassment that he had of this poor single woman in Lakewood. And Baruch Hashem, he got caught. Just like the Mishnah in Masechet Avot says, someone that desecrates Hashem's name in private, Hashem will punish him in public. Unfortunately, there's a lot of disgusting people out there. But we cannot ever think that just because there's somebody that happens to be Jewish and he's doing disgusting things, therefore he's a representation of Judaism. No. Judaism is represented by the Torah and those that follow it. Now these Jews in our parasha, they were sold a bag of nothing by Korach. But how did they get convinced to leave their rabbi? Moshe Rabbeinu. This is not just some online rabbi. This is Moshe Rabbeinu. How did you get convinced to leave Moshe Rabbeinu? Especially since he's not only a rabbi, he put you in a position that you're in, position of power. The Gemara says that Korach was not only rich. In fact, the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 110, has a whole segment about Korach. It says, these 250 men were the most distinguished individuals in the congregation of Israel. And when it says that they were summoned for appointed times, it implies that they knew how to intercalate the years and establish the months in the Jewish calendar, meaning these people were geniuses. They knew the halachas. And they were called men of renown because they had a good name throughout the world. But Korach had a lot of money. Korach had a lot of money because Korach found one of the treasures of Yosef HaTzadik. And he had treasure houses that were equivalent to a load of 300 white mules. And all of those mules were carrying keys and locks that were made of leather for his safes. Meaning the enormous amount of money that Korach had made people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos look poor in comparison to Korach. But Korach knew that he needed to convince not just nobodies. He needed to convince big people. So what did he do? Korach would have parties. You know, rich people like to have parties. They like to have guests. That's where they have meetings. That's where they mingle. And that's when they bribe. So every time he'd have a party, he'd invite these 250 rabbis. And at the party, he talked to them, befriend them, give them a little gift. A few $100 here, a few thousand there. Talk them up. Before you know it, they got accustomed to Korach being the Gvir. He is the not just rich, he's very generous. He builds this, he helped me with that one. And before you know it, all that money bought their opinion. All that money bought their mind, just like the Torah promises that money could even make wise people go against the Torah because it makes them blind, makes them biased. So now after he bought their opinion, he bought their mind, now he tells them, listen, by the way, you know, I don't want to say nothing bad, but Moshe Rabbeinu, he's not really fair. Something's not right here. Something doesn't smell right here. Moshe Rabbeinu is the king. Fine. But why is Aaron and his sons the Kohanim? Doesn't make any sense. And then Elitzaphan also has a position. Doesn't make any sense. After all, since the time of Adam HaRishon, the Kohanim, the priests, were the firstborns. And all of you rabbis, 250, you're all firstborns. How come none of you are the leaders? Oh, Korach, you're right. For over 2,400 years, the firstborns were the priests. But here we see that Moshe Rabbeinu set it up that his brother. Well, but maybe Hashem told him. Korach says, no, it can't be. It can't be. I'm going to find out. And he starts digging and digging, looking for different stories. But at each time he has a party, each time he has an event, a few thousand here, a few thousand there, gives everybody a little bit of bribe. They all look at it like it's gifts. But each time he plants another seed. And then when he comes to Moshe Rabbeinu with all the people, we find out what? These rabbis listen to. He comes to Moshe Rabbeinu with everybody. The Tan V'Aviram, the 250 rabbis, and he says to Moshe Rabbeinu, why do you exalt yourself over the congregation of Hashem? Moshe Rabbeinu, the humblest man that ever lived, exalting himself? What exalting himself? The Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says, the next verse says that Moshe Rabbeinu heard and he fell on his face. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu fall on his face? Okay, so Korach said something stupid. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu fall on his face? The Gemara says, what report did Moshe hear that caused him to fall upon his face? Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani said in the name of Rabbi Yonatan, Moshe Rabbeinu heard that the people suspected him of transgressing the prohibition against having relations with married women, that he's secretly stealing everybody's wives. As it says, they were jealous of Moshe and his camp. And Rabbi Shmuel bar Yitzchak says, this is also teaching us that each and every one of the husbands formally warned his wife against secluding herself with Moshe. As it says, and Moshe took a tent and pitched it outside of the camp. But how can you come up with such a story, Korach? How can you possibly accuse Moshe Rabbeinu that left his wife in Parashat Be'alotecha out of his own choice because he saw that Hashem told Am Yisrael before he gave him the Torah, 3 days. Before I give you the Torah, separate from your wife for 3 days. So Moshe Rabbeinu says I'm with Hashem all the time, I'll take it upon myself to separate myself from my wife forever, so I can always be with HaShem. So you're going to say that Moshe Rabbeinu is making adultery with all of Am Yisrael's women? Chas v'shalom. How could you possibly say that? And needless to say, who would believe you? Says Korach. Korach was a very charismatic, snake tongue, like a politician, like some of these snake oil salesmen that tell you God needs you, or all types of other heresy. He says, look, we got to rationalize this. How come Moshe Rabbeinu put his brother Aaron as the Kohen? And not only that, he didn't pick any of the other family members of the Levi family as also Kohanim. Only the sons of Aaron. Why? Why not me? I'm also from the family of Levi. Why not the firstborns? All of these famous good rabbis that are with me. These honorable people that everybody knows they're honorable. Why not put them there? For over 2,400 years, the firstborns were the Kohanim. We know that Melchizedek was a Kohen. He was a Kohen. He was a firstborn. He was also named Shem, the son of Noach. So we know that the Kohanim were the firstborn. Now all of a sudden Moshe changes the rules and he says it's the name of God. Even if you want to say it's in the name of God, it's from the Levi family. Fine. Why only Aaron and his sons and nobody else? I'll tell you why, says Korach. Because the Holy Torah, and he uses the Torah, the manipulators know how to manipulate. They use a little bit of truth to publicize a big lie. He says the Holy Torah, and Korach knew a lot of Torah. Korach was a prophet. He had Ruach HaKodesh. And he says the Holy Torah that HaShem gave us. You guys believe in HaShem, right? HaShem gave us the Torah. The Holy Torah says that if a woman, a married woman, secludes herself with a man that's not her husband, she's alone in a room with somebody that's not her husband, and he warns her not to do it, and she does it again, in order to find out if she committed adultery, because you don't know what happened in the room, what do? You bring her to the Kohen. So he makes her drink the bitter waters, and if she cheated on her husband, if she committed adultery, she dies on the spot. And if not, nothing. Moshe left his wife. Now, all of a sudden, all of our wives are listening to Moshe. When the people told their wives to give them the gold for the golden calf, nobody listened. The wives didn't give the gold for the golden calf. But when Moshe Rabbeinu said, give me gold to build the Mishkan, all of a sudden, all the women gave them everything, including their mirrors. How come all the women are listening to Moshe? I'll tell you why, says Korach. You know why? Because any time a husband suspects his wife, he brings it to the Kohen. Therefore, Moshe made sure that the Kohanim are only his family. Aaron and his sons, because they can back it up for him. They can lie for him. They can give her not the bitter waters. They'll give her simply water. And therefore they continue cheating. And now, like in Lavdi, like we have in this world, anytime something like that is said, everyone's like, oh, whoa, now there's a big commotion, millions of people saying, oh, I can't believe it, oh. And this gets worse. Moshe falls on his face. How could this possibly be? I have preserved myself to the extent of not even being with my wife, just for the sake of Am Yisrael, for the sake of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the maximum. You're accusing me of being the furthest from the truth. But Moshe Rabbeinu knows that the people may believe Korach. Why? He has a believable story. He has a believable story. And he also has all of these rabbis in his pocket. He has many people in his pocket. Just like anybody that has money, all of a sudden, everybody likes them. Either everybody hates them or everybody likes them. Before Elon Musk was successful, nobody cared what he thought on Monday morning at 2 o'clock. Nobody thought that it's proper the way he manages his personal life, marrying women for a short period of time, having kids with so many different women. Nobody would ever say, oh, this is okay. Today, since he's a trillionaire, according to the paper, all of a sudden, everything he does is good. Everybody agrees. All of a sudden, nobody cares about the fact that there's women's rights, no women's rights. What about marriage? What about monogamy? What about, oh no, people. Now, of course, if you're on the politician side, then you hate him. Why? Because he went against your hero or he's opposite of your hero. But the funny thing is, nobody cared before he became a multi-billionaire. This is, again, not to agree or disagree with his lifestyle, which obviously is against the Torah, but nonetheless, we see here that people change their minds. Is he brilliant? Absolutely. Nobody could deny that. Is he somebody that somebody should let their daughter marry? Absolutely not. Look at his track record. Does he have certain morals that are good? Yes, absolutely. Does he have certain statements and behaviors that are absolutely unacceptable? Yes, absolutely. And so does everybody else. But what happened? Why am I mentioning all this? Because all of a sudden, as his net worth increased, you had extremes. Either people agree with everything or nothing. This is what happened with Korach. Either people agreed with everything he said, and including the story about why Moshe chose Yaron in order to get the women, or disagreed completely and said, no, come on, Korach, you went too far. Korach, you went too far. Come on, what's wrong with you? This is Moshe Rabbeinu after all. How can you talk to him? Says Rav Chisda in the Talmud Bavli, Masechet Sanhedrin, whoever challenges his Torah teacher is like one who challenges the divine presence itself. When they contended against God, who contended against God? Datan, Aviram, Korach, all of his followers. It's called they contended against God because they went against Moshe Rabbeinu. And from there our sages teach us, going against your rabbi is not just going against your rabbi. If your rabbi is a good rabbi, he follows the Torah, you going against the rabbi, that means you're going against God. It says Rav Chama ben Rabbi Chanina, whoever picks a quarrel with his teacher is like one who picks a quarrel with the divine presence. And whoever complains about his teacher is regarded as if he complains against God himself. And Rabbi Abahu says, whoever even thinks bad things about his rabbi is regarded as if he thinks bad about HaShem. See, here we see, Rabotai, commotion, havoc. But a lot of people are buying into it. Like what happens with elections. People cannot just live and let live. If you elect like I do, you're my friend. But if you elect the other guy, you're my enemy. Why can't we just choose whoever we want and not necessarily agree on this issue of who's better, but still treat each other like human beings. Still be okay with each other. People don't accept that anymore. They cannot tolerate someone that disagrees with them. And that's why Korach created what's called a machloket, a division. And in fact, one of the 613 laws in the Torah is don't be like Korach and create a division. Create a machloket. Moshe Rabbeinu says, after trying to plead with them, after trying to reason with them, and nothing works, okay, bring the incense offering. Each person bring his pan with the incense, and God is going to choose who he's with. Not just one representing all of you, each one of you representing itself. Why? Because each one of you think that you should be a Kohen. Each one of you thinks that you should be the leader. So Hashem's going to pick one. But make sure you know that if he doesn't pick you, it's not like in school where if somebody doesn't pick you on their team to play with them, you just go to a different team. No. Here, if you bring a sacrifice, you bring an incense offering to Hashem, when you're not invited, he kills you. Why? You desecrated his name. Who told you could come? These leaders were so full of themselves and so full of animosity against Moshe Rabbeinu as a result of what they heard from Korach. They didn't even think for a moment about the fact that, listen, there's over 250 of us. There's 250 of these leaders. And there's Korach, Datan ve'Aviram. Lots of people. It's not possible that all of us are going to be right, meaning that even if one of us is right, that means that 252 people die. No one thought of this. Why? They were so full of animosity that they simply came ready to put their life on the line because they were sure they are the person. Like some people are sure they know the entire Torah, or they know better than the Rambam, or they know better than Rabbi Yosef Karo, or they know better than Gdolei Yisrael. Some people are sure. No, listen, I don't listen to the rabbis. I have my own mind. What your own mind? You chamor. You have no idea what a mind is, b'chalal, when it talks about Torah. What mind? But people think they know better. So now, the showdown comes, and Hashem says to Moshe and Aaron, separate yourself from amidst this assembly, and I shall destroy them in an instant. And Moshe tells everyone, turn away now from near the tents of these wicked men, and do not touch anything of theirs, lest you perish because of all of their sins. Now, of course, we know that as soon as they brought the incense offering, Hashem's showed himself, obviously showed something, and the wrath is what everyone saw as the gate of Gehinnom, one of the three gates of Gehinnom that exists in this physical world, is in the desert. And the Gemara tells us one is in the desert, one is in the ocean, and one is in Yerushalayim. 3 gates to Gehinnom. Now you can't just go there, knock on the door, and say, can I get in? There's no door. There's no door. In the middle of the desert, there was no door that everybody said, oh, let's push Korach in there. No. Everything looked normal until it wasn't. And the gate of Gehinnom opened up, the ground opened up, and sucked Korach, his family, and all of his belongings inside Gehinnom, alive. And he's still there to this day. Which begs the question, how could somebody that calls themselves an Orthodox Jew believe the falsehood that Gehinnom is a maximum of 12 months when the Torah specifically says that Korach is still in Gehinnom 3,338 years. So what, he's the only one that went there? For that long? Everybody else, your friend that was a Mechalel Shabbat, he's there only for a year. But Korach that kept Shabbat, Korach kept all the mitzvot, except that he was a kofar. He's there for 338 years. After that, a heavenly fire came and burned all of those leaders that were with Korach in an instant where it was similar to a cartoon, just much more gruesome. They were there holding the pans in 1 second, there were ashes the next second, and the pan fell on the floor. As if no one ever held it. Brand new. In the box. HaShem tells Moshe, go tell Aaron and his sons, tell to Elazar, the son of Aaron, to pick up these fire pans. Why? After all, they were bringing a sacrifice. They were bringing an incense offering. The incense offering was used for holiness. But they were not invited. And therefore they died. They had no right to do this. You can't just decide to worship God the way you want. There's rules. He's the King of Kings. You can't just approach the king however you want, whenever you want, like it's your bedroom. But then we get to our question, Rabotai. We get to our question, and it's a question of questions. Fine. Korach, wicked, liar, cheater, heretic, everything you want to say is right. But the Torah says, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their household and all of the people who were with Korach and their entire wealth. They and all that was theirs descended alive to Sheol, which is one of the names of Gehinnom. And the earth covered them over, and they were lost from among the congregation. And all of Israel was around them, fled from fear at their sound, for they said, lest the earth swallow us. Okay. Korach, done. Family that was following him, with the exception of his 3 kids, done. Anyone that agreed with them, done. But why is money? I mean, after all, we need a lot of money to build yeshivot, for helping the poor, for more of the tablets, Kiruv tablets. Why are you burning the money, HaShem? Korah had so much money, he had enough money to feed the rest of the world for the rest of history. Why burn his money? Why? What is the money going to do in Gehinnom? He uses so many things. He can build a Beit HaMikdash in the middle of the desert. We'd have so much money, they can build a Beit HaMikdash in every city. Why burn the money? You could say, well, Hashem could give them other money. Yes, but the money was already there. Rabotai Karim, many people spend their life chasing after money, which is one of the reasons why the Gemara calls money damim, bloods, because people spend their life, their blood, chasing after money. And the more they accumulate in their life, the more they want to leave something. They want to leave a brand. They want to leave a legacy. They want to leave their name. They want people to talk about them after they die, even though they're not going to be able to hear them. But to their dismay, rarely does their plan ever work. Either they're not capable of leaving a legacy, or the legacy they left is much worse than they could ever imagine, because all of their people that inherited their money don't really care about them as much as they care about the money. So as soon as they die, all they care about is what piece of the pie I'm going to get. And then you see people, unfortunately both religious and not, fight over the inheritance. It's almost like if there's no fight over the inheritance, that's because there's no inheritance. There has to be a fight over the inheritance. So much so that more relationships are broken as a result of the inheritance than the fights during life itself. During life itself, people buy, sell from each other, talk to each other, lend to each other, all types of stuff, but they get through it. After all, we're brothers, we're cousins, we're siblings, we're parents, sons, and so on. But when it comes to inheritance, that's the Satan himself has control of it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the Satan control of it because people lose their mind. All of a sudden, oh, you got 51%, I got 49%. That's it. Never talk to me again. Oh, you got the house and I only got the land. Never talk to me again. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to this. I'm going to that. They literally become enemies. So the person that worked their whole life, that did whatever they did to build a legacy that's going to preserve their name, now everyone hates him or her. Why? They're the cause of the fight. How could you not give me more than him? How could you not give me more than her? How come you didn't give me anything? How come this? How come that? And the building they had their name on, before you know it, that name gets removed and is replaced with somebody else with a bigger ego that's alive. The dreams they had for the donations they're going to give to all of these non-profit organizations and charitable investigations and so on, they simply make people rich, and none of those investigations ever happen. And if they do, it's literally a microcosm of what was supposed to happen. So the legacy that people believe they will leave don't happen. They just don't. Usually the only reason why the entity that holds the money keeps the name is because you can't change the name without major legal changes. So they just leave it there and simply take the money. They don't care. Now, after all of the effort that people spend acquiring the money, they barely even have enough time to enjoy it. And they end up leaving it to many people that even consider themselves their enemies, their haters. The Chofetz Chaim says that the people that will get punished the worst at the time of Mashiach will be the rich people that do not use their money to publicize Torah, use their money to publicize Hashem's name. Meaning, not only will they get punished, Gehinnom, and all those different things for sins that they made otherwise, but the greatest punishment they'll have is when they see what they could have done to actually create a real legacy that will outlive them and what they actually did. A person works on their whole life, working, acquiring. He bought another company, bought another business. People made millions just interviewing the millionaires and the billionaires. Literally, there's people, young people, they go up to millionaires and billionaires and they ask them, how'd you make so much money? How'd you become rich? And they get other people to watch it. Before you know it, they start building a business around this whole ordeal that they're doing of interviewing people, and they become millionaires. People assume if you talk to millionaires, you must be like them. Now, all of these millionaires, all of these billionaires, without exception, want to leave a legacy, want to leave something that will outlast their physical life. But if you look at history, you will see that that is not only rare, it's almost non-existent. It's almost non-existent that wealthy people actually execute the plan of their legacy. Even people as wealthy as the Rockefellers of the previous generations, and all of these, the Carnegie family, the trillionaires and billionaires of the previous generation, within one generation or less, all that wealth was gone, wasted, legacy done. The only remembrance of them is simply a few stories that were in the news. Korach had more money than anybody else in the world, by a wide margin. When he went against HaShem and his servant Moshe, HaKadosh Baruch Hu ensured that he gets buried in Gehinnom, and all of what he thought he had goes with him. Why? Because Rabotai Yekarim, if Hashem would have let the money stay and, let's say, dispersed among all of Am Yisrael, every family gets $1 billion. Every family gets $1 million. What are they going to do? They're going to start buying stuff with it. And each time they buy, they get another house, another car, another this, another that. They're going to remember Korach. Say, listen, Korach, after all, thanks to him, we have this house. Listen, I know he went against Moshe Rabbeinu, but you got to hand it to him. He had a lot of money, and we benefited as a result of it. So they start remembering Korach for the good. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no can do. If you went against my Torah, I will blot out your name and everything that could possibly give you any remembrance for the good, because you don't deserve it. It's not just about the tree that you've built the whole life. What are the fruits? You went against Moshe Rabbeinu. You went against the Torah. The only fruit you're going to have is the story of your destruction. Because I don't want anyone to say, listen, Korach was bad, but thanks to him, Beschuto, Schuto tagen alenu, may his merit protect us, because, hey, listen, I have a house, we built a shul, we built a yeshiva, we had kids, we had this, we had that, because of Korach's money. Absolutely not. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no. And this is, by the way, also the reason of why we say about Yoshke, Imach Shimo v'zichro, may his name be blotted out. Why? No remembrance of him whatsoever should be left in this world because of all the damage that he caused. Anything that a wicked person does that's good should not even be remembered. Why? Because he was ultimately evil. He was ultimately evil. And therefore, he should not have a share in something good after his life, because his life was bad. And the Gemara says, in the name of Rava, when Korach was going against Moshe Rabbeinu, the angels of the sun and the moon ascended from their heavenly abode to the firmament, which is known as Zvul, and said before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono shel Olam, Master of the universe, if you render justice for Moshe ben Amram, Meaning, if you publicly demonstrate that Moshe Rabbeinu is being unjustly accused and challenged by Korach and his followers, then we will continue to illuminate the earth. But if not, we will not go out and illuminate the earth. Desecration of your servant here, desecration of your name. HaShem rebuked them. Says, when my honor gets desecrated, you didn't come to me and say, either you stop this or we're going to stop illuminating the world and let the world be destroyed. But when there's Moshe Rabbeinu here, you protect his honor. Go back to where you belong. And he shot arrows at them, and he shoots arrows at them every day as part of their tikkun, as part of their embarrassment for not realizing they made a mistake. They protected the honor of Moshe, but not enough the honor of HaShem. A person spends their life protecting their own honor, building their own tree, because they believe that the fruits they're producing will be sweet even after their life. But in reality, Rabotai Yekerim, just like Korach thought that he was building a tree, he didn't realize that he was really building himself a special chamber in Gehinnom that he's still in till this day. And the Gemara says that Korach went to Gehinnom and he's still there. And Rabbi Bar Chana says that he was once walking on the road and a certain Arab merchant said to him, come, you want me to show you the place where you could hear Korach's voice screaming? He said, sure. And he says, this Arab brought me to this place in the desert that had 2 cracks on the ground, and there was smoke coming out of it. And he took a ball of wool shearings, and he soaked it in water. And he stuck it onto the head of a spear, and he put it into the crack of the ground where the smoke was coming out. And the heat was so intense that the wool was completely destroyed. And the Arab said to me, listen closely to what's coming out of this hole and you'll hear. I paid attention, I listened closely, and all of a sudden, I heard, Moshe v'torato emet, vehen badaim. Moshe and his Torah are the truth, and we are the liars, meaning the Korach and his followers. And the Arab said to me, says Rabbi Bar Chana, every 30 days, Gehinnom returns them here, because they're like being stirred in a meat pot, where every 30 days the rotation is complete, and you could hear them scream, Moshe and his Torah are the truth, and that they are the liars. Korach was put into Gehinnom over 3,300 years ago. The story I just told you was somewhere around 1,800 years ago, 1,700 years ago, meaning that already 1,600 years passed, and Korach was still there. Last I checked, 1,600 is a lot more than 1 year. Many people build themselves to have an eternal legacy, that their name will remain and will be remembered for good. All the while, in reality, all they're building themselves is not only a loss of Olam Haba because they're going against the Torah. They're heretics, they're idolaters, they're simply disregarding that there's the King of Kings that gave a law to this world, both to the Jews and the Gentiles. Each have their own applicable laws, and they're ignoring all of it. So their eternity after their body dies is no different than Korach's. if not worse. But the worst part is that even what they leave in this world is never what they planned. The legacy, if they knew that this is what we're going to be left, they would have decided to deliver newspapers for a living and make just enough money to eat and not leave anybody any money. Why? Because when you live against the Torah, those that follow you are also against the Torah. On the other hand, we see that there are people that did not have much money all the time. Some did, some did not. Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, they were extremely wealthy. And there were others that were very wealthy. There were Torah sages, there were tzaddikim, and very wealthy. But many were not. Many were very poor. But yet, you see that until this day, their stories are told in a positive way. Their stories are helping the current generation. Their stories are helping anybody that hears it, anybody that tells it. Their books are still being read from cover to cover every single day. Whether it's Rav Ovadia Yosef, the Chofetz Chaim, the Arizal, the Vilna Gaon, the Rabbi Yosef Karo, the Rambam, the Ramban, Rabbeinu Yonah, the Rosh, the Rav Sadia Gaon, the sages of the Talmud. Sages of the Talmud is almost 2,000 years ago. But yet we just learned what they said nearly 2,000 years ago today. Why? They left a real legacy. Their legacy was serving a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Their legacy was following the teachings of a Kadosh Baruch Hu in His Torah. And therefore, their legacy did not depend on materialism, did not depend on anything that is physical. As our own dear Rav Ephraim Kachlon wrote in his new book, Olot Ephraim, that was published in Israel just about a month ago or so, in a section called Talmid Chacham. He first starts off with the quote from the Chazon Ish, that a person that merits to have knowledge of the Torah, if they really are a Talmid Chacham, the difference between them and everybody else is heaven and earth. Why? The Talmid Chacham is an angel, while everyone around them are simply people. How so? The way they live their life. While everybody is waking up in the morning chasing their next big idea, the next opportunity to gain more materialism in a materialistic world, in a temporary world, temporary possessions for a temporary world, the first thing that Talmid Chacham does when he starts his day is think about Hashem's Torah, Hashem's instructions, Hashem's laws. How could I serve Hashem? How could I connect to Hashem? He doesn't waste even 4 steps without thinking of something about Torah. It's not a matter of knowing some information about Torah, but rather thinking with the mind of Torah. Meaning, there is nothing that passes through his mind that does not have the Torah attached to it. Whether it's eating or not eating, how to eat, when to read, when to walk, when to be with the family, when to pray, when to do business, who to do business, to pay, not to pay, everything. To build, not to build. To make a profit, to take a loss, to go to the doctor, to take medicine. Everything is, and anything in his mind is what does the Torah say about this? Whether it's during his sitting or during his standing, it is always in his mind. And he's constantly carrying his bag with him because that is where his treasure is. What is his treasure? His bag that has his notebook that's full of chidushim. Rav Mazuz alav shalom had hundreds and hundreds of notebooks when he was still young, over 400 notebooks. And when Rav Barda saw this, Rav Mazuz was mourning. He's like, what am I going to do with all these beautiful chidushim? Rav Barda says, give them to me. I'll publish them. I'll make them into books. He says, you can do that? He says, yes. He turned many of his chidushim into books. But Rav Mazuz was such a Torah giant that even after his death, people realized that not even an ounce of his Torah was published. He left over 1 million pages, handwritten pages of Torah chidushim. 1 million pages full, not the little post-it notes. Over 1 million pages full of Torah chidushim. Someone that learns Torah has constant notes that they write. Everything they learn. Things they knew, things that they realized, things they learned. They collect it. This is their treasure. This is what they collect with them. Why? Because when you go up to Shamayim, that's what you have. If you learned it, HaShem will allow you to expand upon it. You didn't learn it, you're not going to know it. And a Talmid Chacham constantly prays that his pages in his notebook will not be to waste. And the reality is that this person lives a life like an angel without wings. When he's in a learning Torah, he's like a fish in water, perfectly fit. Because his entire essence and reason for existence is to serve heaven. In his chidushim, his notes, in his notebook, the ones that he wrote when he was 7 and 8 years old, and the ones that he wrote when he's 70 and 80 years old. These are my treasures to bring as a sacrifice to HaShem. This is how I served you. Every night, every morning, every afternoon. While others spend their time accumulating more money, houses, land, for him, the Talmid Chacham, the STUMP chalom balaot. This is just fairy tales, these things that they're accumulating. Where you're wasting all your time building in a world that's temporary anyway. He has no time for this world. There's no problem with making money, but for what purpose are you doing it? Are you doing it to just accumulate more stuff or to really build a legacy that will outlast you? So now, Rabotai, when a person evaluates their balance sheet, and I'm not just talking about their monetary balance sheet, but also their neshama's balance sheet, you have to ask yourself, if you died tomorrow, what'd you leave? What'd you leave in this world? If you died tomorrow, you could say, oh, I left my kids, my wife. Okay, great. Other people leave their kids and wife also. But what'd you leave in this world? What did you leave this world with? What can you take with you to Shamayim? Do you have Torah? Do you have Chidushim? Have you written books? Probably not. Did you leave so many mitzvot in this world that everyone's going to remember you for the shul that you built and for the people you helped? Are they going to remember? No. The portfolio of stocks you've accumulated, the portfolio of real estate you've accumulated, the portfolio of collectibles you collected, they're going to help you in Shamayim? No. Anyone going to remember you because of your paintings, because of your collections? No. They're going to forget you as soon as possible, as soon as it enters their bank account. So now, Rabotai, What is the average person to do? They can't just become a Torah scholar tomorrow, although you have to learn Torah. And everybody can get chidushim at their level. But again, we can't wait until we accumulate and then say, HaShem, okay, I'm ready, you can take me now. Doesn't work that way. Everybody's got their clock, everybody's got their time. This is why investing into Be'ezrat Hashem's Kiruv is the greatest thing that a person could ever do for themselves. Regardless of where they stand in their life, young, old, male, female, Jew, non-Jew, religious, non-religious. Why? Because once a person invests into Be'ezrat Hashem, you're giving us the power to publicize HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name in your merit. Every person that does tshuva, every person that now elects to abandon the path to Korach's Gehinnom and now goes to the path of heaven, it's to your merit, to your account. They learn Torah, you get the merit. They're a Torah scholar in one of our kollels in Israel, you get the merit. They get chidushim, you get it in your account. Says Rabbi Chaim, when a person supports Torah, supports Kiruv, supports Torah scholars, guess what? It's not just their Torah that they go up to heaven with. All of the Torah that they've actually been a part of also shows up at the gate of heaven with them. Meaning, even if you are bu ve'am haaretz, don't know anything, but you supported Torah as your priority number one in this world, bigger than your building, bigger than your warehouse, bigger than your investment portfolio, bigger than your hobbies, bigger than your private jet. You made investing into Torah and Be'ezrat Hashem your priority. Guess what? All of the merits that will continue coming from that during your life and after, all of the fruits that ever come out of it for the rest of history until Mashiach comes and beyond, all of it gets accumulated and reaccumulated every single year on Rosh Hashanah and added to your account. The Torah that you didn't learn yourself during your life, but you was learned by one of the people that did tshuva as a result of you, was learned by one of the avrichim as a result of you, was learned by someone as a result of your investment, of your temporary possessions. All of that shows up in Shamayim, and now all of a sudden you know Torah that you never learned during your life. You have chidushim about things you never even saw in your life. That's what Rabbi Chaim and anyone that wants to see the source, you could see it in a sefer called Anaf Etz Avot by Rav Ovadia Yosef. Rabotai Karim. Everyone wants to leave a legacy. But you have to look at a track record, at history. Who actually left a legacy in accordance with their plan? Who? The only people that were confident that their legacy is going to work out were still alive. Whether it's Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, all of the other people. But in reality, the moment they died, the legacy died. And guess what? Many of those people were hit with a very big surprise after they died in the real world that is eternal, because they didn't have the heaven they thought they had here. Rabotai Karim, you could prepare for retirement, you could prepare for a legacy, all you want. The question is, what will you actually leave in this world after you die? That is a decision you have to make while you're alive, while you're well, while it's not too late. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we will all take this to heart and make sure that we use our time to learn Torah, to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to maximize our time in this world collecting the stuff that really matters, the stuff that will actually outlive us. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we succeed. Last week, we asked a question about a judgment. Reuven was in the place where they do trading. He got a container. He got Shimon. to buy the container for $1,000. Shimon sold it to somebody else for $2,000, $4,000. Next thing you know, somebody else bought it for $20,000, $30,000. Before you know it, it exchanged 10 hands, and the last buyer bought it for $100,000. The same container that just a few hours earlier was sold for $1,000. But the buyer who bought it for $100,000 opened the actual container to see what he got. And he found rats, cockroaches, and some plastic bags that were empty. And he realized that this container was a scam. The question is, what does he do? According to the Torah, he go back to the guy that sold to him, Yaakov, and say, listen, you cheated me. I want my 100,000 back. He says, listen, why'd you open it? Look at exchange hands, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000. This thing was going sky high. Next thing you know, it's going to be like SpaceX, $1 trillion. But you opened it. Why'd you open it? Open, no open. Listen, you sold me nothing. Yeah, but how could it be nothing if so many other people paid for it? Some of you told me, listen, if this is the way of the business, then listen, maybe you could give him a refund of part of the money. Some people said maybe you could give him just some credit for his next purchase. But this is the nature of the business. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Everybody took a calculated risk. The Torah doesn't work that way. The Torah has specific rules about mekach umemkar, about business. And the Torah concludes that this transaction was void already from the first step, from Reuven and Shimon. And therefore it has to be reversed one after another, after another, after another, all the way to the first purchase. Everybody's got to get their money back. Why? It was called mekach taut. It was a mistake. Nobody would buy this had they known that it's empty. Now I'm going to ask you a different question. It sounds very similar. Reuven had a fancy car. You know, some people, they are obsessed with fancy cars. They love fancy cars. Fancy cars are cool. Fancy cars are expensive. And some people buy many of them because they have so much money. And they like to show them off. Well, anyway, Reuven bought a Ferrari for $300,000. Second hand, but it was a high-end model. It was worth $300,000. He used it for a little while. But you know, since he has so much money and he likes to do other things, he was open to selling it. Shimon, his friend, liked this car. Maim gnuvim im taku. As Shlomo Melech says, stolen water are always sweeter. The grass is greener on the other side. People always like other people's stuff. So Shimon says to Reuven, you want to sell that car? He's like, yeah, I'll sell it to you. How much? He says, $300,000. What I paid for it. All I want is my money back. Yeah, listen, it's a pretty good deal. $300,000. It drives good? It's amazing. What about like all the stuff inside? Anything wrong with it? He goes, listen, I don't know anything about anything. I just know I drive it. I had a good time with it. It's beautiful. But if you want to check, he goes, is there anything that I don't see that maybe I wouldn't know to ask? He goes, listen, I don't know about this stuff. I know how to make money from all the different businesses I have. I know how to drive a car. I use the money to buy the car. Don't ask me about all these things. I don't know anything. You want it. I just got it re-registered. So you don't have to worry about that for another year. But if you want to check, go check before you buy it. If not, $300,000. Not even making money on you. Shimon says, listen, Reuven, you're my boy. I trust you. If you say everything is good, it's good. He buys the car for $300,000. He starts driving it. It's as smooth as it gets. He feels like he's flying. He enjoys this car for another year. After a year, he has to get this car inspected again. And during the inspection, to his dismay, they say, listen, the car drives. It's beautiful. There's one problem. We discovered that the model number on the engine matches an engine that was stolen. The engine is stolen, and therefore we cannot give you the permission to use it like you did. Yeah, but I didn't steal it. Steal, no steal, this is what it is. He manages to buy himself some more time, a little bribe here and there, and he drives it for another few months. And then he tells his friend David the story of what happened. See what happened? I bought a car from Reuven, $300,000. He didn't even make any money on me. And I find out a year later that it's has a stolen engine. David says to him, so what are you doing? It's a mekach ta'ut. You can't go return the car. Go return the car. He has to give you all the money back. You didn't buy a car with a stolen angel. You bought a car. He says, you're right. He comes back to Reuven. He says, listen, I'm sorry about everything, but I want my money back. Because it's a mistake from the beginning. Yeah, but you've been driving it for a year. More than a year and a few months. He's like, listen, I heard from my rabbi in a shiur that if it's a mistake, even if it's 5 years later, 10 years later, it can always go back. So I want money back. He goes, yeah, but come on, you took it, you enjoyed it, a year later, even after you found out, you continue driving it, and you want the money back now? Listen, it's in perfect condition. Just take your money back. You fix the angel. I don't want to deal with it. All right, let's go to Beit Din. Let's go to the Beit Din and see what happens. Rabotai Karim, you are the Beit Din. What happens? Does Reuven have to pay the $300,000 back? Or the Shimon says, listen, I bought it, I used it. Sometimes you lose some. Or you meet somewhere in the middle. Give me some of the money back. Or pay for the engine maybe. What do we do? What do we do? And why? That's the question. I'm sure you guys will send me some wonderful answers, and I look forward to hearing them. It's a very, very realistic situation that happens, and every word that I said was intentionally there. So pay attention to the words, even if you have to hear it a few times. That was your hint.
What did your support do in the year 2025? Here's what your support did this past year. And it was verified by Candid. 238,000 Jewish individuals were fed or financially assisted. Over 15,000 Torah lectures and 500 Torah films were produced and distributed across 23 channels and 15 languages. 280,000 free Sfarim by Rabbi Kachlon and myself were distributed worldwide for free, up from 150,000 the year before. 2.3 million outreach materials were given out free of charge, like the Asher Yatzar and USBs, CDs. All of this, Baruch HaShem, was funded almost entirely by individual donors, just like yourself. No foundation grants, just people like you who watched our videos, got inspired, and decided to do something with us.
Okay, Rabotai. Now you guys can ask some questions, and Be'ezrat Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give me the answers. Let's see. Great question, car guy and Talmid here. Baruch Hashem. So, I'm looking forward to hearing your answer. Send it to me on the message. And we'll see you next week when I give the answers. Let's see. All right. Am I allowed to read Likutei Amarim as a Gentile? Are you allowed? I don't recommend it necessarily. There's certain musar in it, but there's also certain things that are beyond the standard musar. So you have to decipher the difference between the two. There's other things that are better for you to read. I'm just curious, what are those white buttons on the tzitzit? They're microphones. No, they're not connected to Kabbalah. They're connected to my camera system. Are you drinking beer? No, I'm drinking a drink that's tasty and energy drink. What can I do to merit to convert to Judaism? We have a conversion guide on our website, bezrathashem.org. Go there, download it, do everything that it says in there, apply it to your life, and Bezrat Hashem, at some point or another, you'll convert. Why is God's name not mentioned in the Megillah? It's mentioned, but indirectly. Any time that it says the Melech, it's referring to God. But because God during that time was hiding himself behind the scenes while making all the miracles. It's a big part of the story. What is your most controversial take? I don't know what that means. Melech did not always refer to Achashverosh. No. Go look at the Mefarshim and you'll see that sometimes it's referring to Achashverosh and sometimes it's referring to HaShem. Can I donate as a non-Jew and put my name on it? Yes. We have many non-Jews that are righteous Gentiles that support our organization. In fact, some of them were part of our Rosh Hashanah campaign that donated for the special prayers, and their names were even mentioned in our books. We have 3 books that are in the process right now. Bezrat Hashem will come to market in the next few months, and in there you'll see names of some Jews and some non-Jews that are righteous non-Jews. Their names are in there, same thing like we did last year. Is the war in Iran Gog Magog? Watch my film Gog Magog and you'll understand the answer. Gog Magog is not a single war. It's a series of wars. I'm Sephardic Moroccan Jew. I noticed that my mom lights the candles and then recites the bracha. Well, she should change that. You have to make the bracha first and then as a Sephardi Jew. I know Ashkenazim do it the opposite way sometimes, but Sephardis no. Why do Jewish sects like Satmar and Neturei Karta anti-Zionists? Well, Neturei Karta is a group of heretics that are not following Judaism even, needless to say, being part of the Jewish sect. There are people that are doing things that are against the Torah and very often befriending the enemies that are, celebrating the death of Jews. Satmar, on the other hand, has many, many righteous people that learned from their Rabbi, the Rabbi Yoel of Satmar, that the Jewish people are not supposed to settle in the land and develop a government and so on in the land of Israel until Mashiach comes. Now, this is their stance on, the modern day Israel as far as the government aspect of it. But as far as Zionism is concerned, it's not just Satmar that's against Zionism. All Orthodox Jews, all religious Jews, either are or should be against the Zionists, because the Zionists are atheists, communists, anti-Torah, enemies of the Torah, no less than the Nazis were. If you look at what these Zionists are doing in Eretz Yisrael right now to fight the Torah, you would literally cry. Just today, I got a story of a Bachur Yeshiva, Avrech, married, couple of kids. They were driving on the road to somewhere. They get pulled over in Israel. He didn't speed. He didn't violate anything. They ask him some questions. He says he has all the information. He has the insurance. He has the license. He has everything. So then they check his license. They see that he's a Avrech. He hasn't signed up for the army. So they arrest him on the spot, leave his pregnant wife and her child there in the car in the middle of nowhere, and she doesn't know how to drive. She doesn't have a license. She asks him, what am I going to do? They said, I don't care. He goes to jail. He gets a sentence for 20 days. For what? For learning Torah. This is Zionism. Zionism is an enemy of the Torah. Zionism is an enemy of the Torah. Anyone that says otherwise does not know what Zionism is. Now, as I've said in previous lectures, there is what Zionism is, and there is what Zionism people think it is. What people think Zionism is that a belief that Israel has a right to exist, and we have a right to the land. That's not Zionism. That's Judaism. Judaism believes that HaShem gave us Israel. It'll always be ours. The end. Doesn't matter who thinks otherwise. HaShem said that we are the chosen people. He runs the world. Therefore, we not only have a right to exist, we will always exist. Regardless of what anybody says. Regardless of who tries to destroy us. Every generation, some other enemy tries to destroy us. Has nothing. None of them exist anymore. All the ones that try to destroy us were destroyed. We're still here. We'll always be here. So this whole concept of Zionism being defending ourselves, that's what Torah says. Somebody comes to kill you, kill them first. In fact, the Zionist government does not even follow the Torah when it comes to war. Because if they would have, the wars wouldn't even exist anymore, because we would have already attacked all of our enemies before they even shot a single missile. So the whole concept of Zionism is that it's antithetical to the Torah. People think that Zionism is a belief in the land of Israel. It's the Torah believes. Torah already says that land of Israel was given to us. What Zionism represents is a political ideology that the land is more important than the people, that God should not be a priority in your life. In fact, many of them are atheists or anti-God, and some of them idolaters. They have declared war against the Torah since their founding. The founding members of Zionism were openly against the world of Torah, openly against the Jewish people. When they had an opportunity to save over 1 million Jews in the Holocaust, towards the end of the Holocaust, for a trade of trucks, tea and coffee, they did not want it, because The leaders of Zionism, like Ben Gurion, said that he didn't want these lowlifes as part of his country in Israel. So these Jews that were in the Holocaust were considered lowlifes in his mind. They weren't up to his standard, so he let them die, another million. This is Zionism. I have entire series of lectures about it. There is Era of Mashiach, there's War of Amalek. These are all based on the writings of Rav Elchanan Wasserman and also historical facts. Everything that I'm telling you, I'm not making up. Everything is backed up. I have books, I have page numbers. Everything is in a series. Anyone that wants to say I'm wrong, I'm not correct, all that stuff, go watch, go prove me wrong. Go prove me wrong. Zionism is against the Torah. So every Orthodox Jew should be against Zionism. But that has nothing to do with the land of Israel. That has nothing to do with defending ourselves. That has nothing to do with right to exist. That the Torah already tells us. Zionism is a political ideology that tries to remove God from the world. That's what Zionism is. It has nothing to do with Judaism. In fact, one of the founders of Zionism and some of the most popular speakers on behalf of Zionism in the last 100 years have said that Zionism and Judaism are not only not the same, but they're actually polar opposites. They're antithetical to each other. The existence of one negates the other. Hence the reason why they're fighting the Torah like they are. Now, of course, morons and ignorant people are going to say, no, what you're saying is Chilul Hashem, that's not nice. Prove me wrong. Go prove me wrong. Show the books. Go look at the books. I've done research on this, kapara. I know more. I was born in Israel. I lived in Netanya. I'm not somebody that just grew up yesterday and decided to write a notebook. Everything that I say has proofs behind it. You want to believe otherwise. But unfortunately, you're wrong. Most people do not know the facts. I've provided the facts. I have an entire series of lectures about this that provide the books, the names, the page numbers, the letters, the journal. If you want to get started with something beautiful, go start reading the personal journal of Herzl Yimach Shemo V'Zichro. Go read it. Go read what Ben Gurion actually said. Go read. Go read what the Zionist current leaders did during COVID-19. Netanyahu did not let the Israelis out of their houses, but yet he allowed nearly 10 jumbo jets full of Christian missionaries into the land of Israel during the time that no one's allowed to leave their house. So, before you conclude that I'm inventing some type of conspiracy, go check the facts. Zionism is an enemy of Judaism. But that does not mean that you don't support the people of Israel. I've invested millions and millions of dollars into helping the poor people in Israel, Torah scholars, secular people, anyone that we possibly can, financially, spiritually, every way that we can, and we continue to, millions and millions of dollars, over $12 million to be exact. So, Baruch Hashem, we do plenty for the people of Israel. Plenty, and will continue to. But again, the Jewish people and Zionism have nothing to do with each other. Zionism is against Judaism. The fact that there are some Jews that even call themselves religious, that believe that Zionism is something else, it simply means that they're wrong. Just like when they thought that they're supporting specific political figures is going to be helpful, that they have a right-wing government now, that's going to be helpful. We did not suffer from the left wing as much as we're suffering from the right wing over the last several years in Israel. So, spare me your personal opinion. Go check the facts. I have lectures about this, extensive facts that were provided, and you can check. You can read books if you want. I can recommend you books if you'd like. You could start with a book called Perfidy, wonderful story of what happened right after World War II when they found out that the Zionists were responsible for over 1 million Jews dying in the Holocaust. The Zionists are responsible for it. Go read about all of the Yemenite Jews and Sephardi Jews that the Zionists sold or did tests on, all types of tests. Rabbi Ephraim's mother, her sister was one of the kids that was sold. My mother, her sister was one of the kids that was sold. We have people in the family that was sold by the Zionists. Sold for body parts. Sold for, and told to the parents that they were dead. That's what the Zionists did. The Zionists are not what you think they are, if you think that they're good. But that has nothing to do with Jewish people. Whether they're religious or not, we have an obligation to help them do tshuva. We have an obligation to help them any way that we possibly can. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our one God. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And he said, Kol Yisrael Aravim Zeh Lazeh. All of Am Yisrael are responsible for each other. But if a person thinks that because they don't want to believe something, then it must be false, I'm sorry, you have to learn a little bit more. I've spent my whole life learning a lot of different things, and one of the things that I've learned is never speak out of simply what you think. Always have to have the facts. Whether you're in a business world, or you're in a Torah world, or somewhere in between, you always have to have the facts. If you're speaking out of your personal emotions, it's worth less than toilet paper that was used. I heard that Likutei Amarim is intended for Benonim. Who says that you're Benoni? When I asked you about certain teachings on Emunah from another rabbi, I follow, you disagreed and considered some of it heretical. Does it mean that I can no longer listen to him? You can do whatever you want. If he teaches heresy, then you shouldn't listen to him. You can ignore what I say. You can, follow what I say. That's up to you. It's your decision. There's nowhere in Halakha that says that I can't be Mashiach. Okay, refuah shlema. You criticize Herzl, Zev Jabotinsky, Benjamin Netanyahu, but don't defame entire groups of people. I'm not defaming entire groups of people. I'm not even defaming. I'm simply advertising and publicizing the truth about an ideology. It's not a people. It's an ideology. Why isn't there more people that protest against Tel Aviv Pride events? What is that going to do anyway? Protest. When did a protest ever work? Do you think the Zionists are trying to make the Mashiach come faster and take God's... Well, the Zionists do not care about Mashiach. They don't care about God. They don't care about the Torah. They're trying to make people leave the Torah. I'm 19 years old from Israel trying to find a wife. Do you have any suggestions? Yeah, you should go to your rabbi. You should go to people that are in a community that know a lot of people. Perhaps somebody could find somebody for you. I'm not a shatchan. Rabbi, you're a no-nonsense straight shooter. Who has time for nonsense? Where's your smicha from? You can go to my website and you can see a picture of my smicha in English and in Hebrew and enjoy. You could write it down, you can make a copy of it, you could print it, you could put it on your wall, you could throw it in the garbage, you could make fun of it, you could praise it, you could do whatever you want with it. It still has nothing to do with the facts. The facts are what I said. You believe otherwise, you could do what you want. You don't understand the religious Zionist movement or the army of HaShem. Kapara, I understand a lot more than you do. What do you think of Rav Kook? Rav Kook was a tzaddik, Kodesh Kodashim. Even though there were other Chachamim that disagreed with him and his approach on certain things, still, Rav Avadia and many other Chachamim say he was Kodesh Kodashim, despite. Rabbi Reuven is the most inspirational rabbi in our generation. Alvai, I wish everybody would hear it. Rabbi, we'd love to see you in a stream podcast with Joe Rogan. I don't think he'd survive. He's unfortunately too gullible for all the lies that people tell him to believe anything remotely true. He's a very gullible person. Rabbi, do you believe in the concept of Hadras Panim aside from Moshe Rabbeinu? I'm sorry, I don't understand what that means. How does Hashem reveal His existence in a physical world? If a prayer comes true, is it a coincidence or miracle? Everything is a miracle, says the Ramban, Nachmanides in Parashat Bo. There is nothing natural. Everything is a miracle. And as far as Hashem showing Himself, it's through everything. Enod milvado. Whether it's the flower, or it's your eye, or it's something that happened in your life, the fact that your body works, you just have to pay attention. Guys, tried to answer, where is Har Sinai? In the desert of Sinai. To the desert. People go there all the time. The area. Let's see. No. Angel. Okay. We get Kiddush Hashem if you had a debate with Richard Dawkins, because last time the heretic Jonathan Sachs messed up all the things, making a bad image. It doesn't matter what Richard Dawkins thinks or doesn't think. He's a nobody. Doesn't exist. Okay, let's see. after Mashiach comes, I heard that certain times, after a certain time period, people will no longer exist in this physical world. Why wouldn't Hashem want our progeny to live forever? Why would He? There is the 6,000th year. That's the 1,000 years where Mashiach is here. Then there's the 7,000th year. The Ramchal goes up to 10,000. But reality changes. Reality changes. Just like, for example, the neshama exists. There's neshamot in a place called Guf, in Shemaim, that are waiting to come to this world. Now, these neshamot exist. They have a reality. They have all types of things that they call life. The next stage of their life is to come to this world. That's part of their tikkun. And now they have a next existence, which is while their mother is pregnant. During that time that the baby is in the mommy's belly, he has a life. He learns Torah every day. There's an angel that teaches him everything. He can see from one end of the world to the other. He has a life. And that life lasts about 9 months in most cases. After he completes that stage of life, he goes to the next stage of life, which is living in this world. And he has stages in that life. He has his childhood, he has teenage, he has adulthood, he has his time where he's elderly if he gets there. The stages of life. After this life is finished, the body turns to dust, and the neshama continues. The neshama feels more than the body. Most people misunderstand what a neshama is, and they think that a neshama is like a ghost, like they saw in the movies. A neshama is not like a ghost. A neshama, first of all, looks like the body that you're in. It doesn't look something different. It's not like some blue image that doesn't have definition. It looks like you, and whatever sins a person has have an actual imprint on the neshama, sometimes even remove parts of it. But the point is that the neshama has feelings. Not just it has feelings, it feels 60 times more than your body does. 60 times more. So 60 times more pleasure, 60 times more pain. In Shemaim, when a neshama goes to Gan Eden, there's different places in Gan Eden. That neshama, if it's a guy, he has his wife, they have their time that they're together. There's a time that he learns Torah. There's a time to eat. There are animals. There are all types of things. So what we think of heaven is completely wrong because people don't know what's there. People think heaven is like where there's like simply a bunch of ghosts that are just flying around because that's what they saw in the movies. Or they think that this world is, there's so much pleasure in it, it cannot be better than that. So they think that in order for it to be the ultimate pleasure is by making all of the spiritual into physical. So I can assure you that Hashem knows better than all of us. He created a perfect system. And when he said that the ultimate pleasure is for us to arrive at heaven as righteous people so we can enjoy the Shekhinah, as the Ramchal writes, that means that's the ultimate. There is no such thing as something better than what Hashem already created. But in order to get to that ultimate joy, in order to get to that ultimate pleasure, in order to get to that ultimate purpose, there is a process. And not everyone makes it. All depends on what they do in each step of the process. Why did Korach's wife instigate him against Moshe, knowing beforehand that Moshe was the leader? So the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin gives a dialogue between Korach and his wife. And says that Korach's wife was upset when she saw Korach come back from the meeting and when Moshe Rabbeinu shaved everyone as part of the purification process. And Korach's wife said to Korach, "Look what Moshe Rabbeinu is doing to you. He arrogated power and wealth for himself and his immediate family. He himself is the king. He has appointed his brother as the Kohen Gadol. He appointed his brother's sons as deputies of the Kohen Gadol. If a truma, which is one of the sacrifices, comes to be offered, then Moshe Rabbeinu will say, 'It shall be for my nephew, the Kohen.' And if the people come to give maaser, which you, the Levites, take, then Moshe Rabbeinu can say that the Levites give 1/10 of a maaser, rishon, you receive to the Kohen. And furthermore, it's a fact that Moshe Rabbeinu shaved all of your hair, meaning that Korach had a big, beautiful beard, hair, everything, and he came home bald. And his wife hated it. She was too modern to see her husband bald. She was fancy schmancy. She was rich. And she said to her husband, Moshe Rabbeinu did all this just to make sport of you, meaning to make fun of you, treating you as if you were a piece of dung. This is our language, what the Gemara says. And he cast his eyes upon your hair. She's saying Moshe Rabbeinu was jealous of your beautiful beard. So Korach said, yeah, but Moshe Rabbeinu did this to himself also. So she said to him, since the entire scheme is for Moshe Rabbeinu to elevate his own greatness, that's why he did it. It's worth it for him to shave his beard just so you could agree to shave yours. And it's worth it for him to do all the things he's doing just to lower you. And she kept going on and on about all the things that she believed Moshe Rabbeinu was doing. This is unfortunately a very common thing in the world today, where you have people that have let's say a business partnership. Two guys start a business together, and in the beginning nobody's successful, but then HaShem decides they're going to be successful. All of a sudden, success comes money, so they want to get a house. So partner Reuven buys a house, and now all of a sudden, even though Shimon was happy renting his apartment, Shimon's wife says, listen, how come you can't be like your partner? How come he buys an apartment, he buys a house and we don't? Okay, honey, we'll buy a house now. Shimon's not buying a house because he wants a house. Shimon's buying a house because his wife is jealous of Reuven's. So he buys a house. Then you get a car. Oh, how come Reuven has a car and we don't? Are you guys partners or no? She sees that Reuven and the family want a vacation. How come Reuven is going on vacation? And before you know it, that wife is going to destroy the partnership. Oh, how come Reuven works less than you? How come Reuven makes more than you? How come? Isha bona, isha oreset. A woman builds, a woman destroys. And many, many women are experts at destroying businesses, relationships, marriages, people's lives. Experts. Why? Because they have an evil eye. They're jealous. They have a big mouth where they simply can't stop talking. And unfortunately, they destroy a lot of things in the process. Not all women, obviously. Not all men are bad. Not all women are bad. But unfortunately, many times when you see that there is broken partnerships, it's usually not because of the business. It's usually because of the dirty laundry that comes with success. People are jealous of each other, and unfortunately usually comes from people that are not even in the business. There are people that are married to somebody that's running the business, that thinks like Korach's wife, that they deserve more. What do you think of artificial intelligence being connected to the time of Mashiach? It's very connected. In fact, the Zohar Kadosh in Parashat Vayera says that in the 186 years, or 100 years before the 6,000th year, this is, in the Zohar Kadosh, Parashat Vayera, page 117a. Even if Mashiach doesn't come, during this last chapter of last 100 years or so before Mashiach comes, the gates of intellect in the higher world will be opened and will thereby impact the lower world, and opens the intellect which will help the rectification of the world when we arrive at the 7th millennium, meaning the year 6,000 and above. Similar to a way of how a person who prepares for himself for Shabbat before sundown. As it says in Sefer Bereshit, Parashat Noach, chapter 7, verse 11, for it was in the 600th year of Noach's life that the gates of heaven opened. And obviously the Mabul came. But unlike the gates of heaven opening and destroying the world, and impacting the gates of heaven, impacting the lower world, in the time before Mashiach, the gates of heaven will open with wisdom. There's going to be wisdom elevated in Shemaim, and therefore extraordinary wisdom elevated in this world, which will actually help the rectification of the world. And if we look at the last 186 years and the innovation that has taken place during that time, because this is all talking about from the 600th year, so it's 186 years from 5600. If we look at the innovation in the last 186 years, we see that there's been more innovation in the last 186 years than there has been in the last few thousand years. And this is just growing further and further beyond any type of historical norm that we've ever seen. So what we were able to do 50 years ago, around the time that I was born, is nothing in comparison to what you're able to do today. In fact, what you were able to do when I first started giving Torah lectures, a little over a decade ago, 12, 13 years ago, and how you would upload a video and how you would make the technology for it and so on, even 12 years ago, is nothing in comparison to what you could do today. What you were able to do 2 years ago is a fraction of what you could do today, if you know how to use the tools. So the intellect that is coming down to this world is because of what the Zohar Kadosh says. It's part of the rectification of the world. Of course, there's a lot of people that use it for bad, for filth, for immorality, for thievery, for gezel, for all types of bad things. But nonetheless, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bringing it to this world because now we can magnify our publicity of the Torah, publicity of the truth, magnification of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name in His holy Torah, magnification of the truth, and help more and more people in less time. So, what's the connection between Mashiach and AI? Everything. This is part of the prophecies, and that's also another proof for all of those fools and some wicked people that think that they say that the Zohar is nonsense or other types of negativity about it. This shows that Zohar Kadosh was written with Ruach HaKodesh, literally telling us specific things that are happening in front of our eyes. Is Israel winning the war? Last I checked, not really. No, we're talking about off of the Jewish calendar. from the year 5600 until now. Is it true that Jews and Noahites that have to go to Gehinnom, God forbid, Avraham gives them back their circumcision before they enter the Sheol? Is it because of the covenant of Avraham? Is it painful? Jews and Gentiles do not go to the same Gehinnom. Jews and Gentiles do not go to the same Gan Eden. Each have a designated place for them. A Gentile does not have to have a circumcision. So there's no reason for a Gentile to think that they need to circumcise themselves. They can if they want, but they usually do it in hospitals these days when the baby's born. But there's no mitzvah for a Gentile to have a circumcision. That's one. Second, as far as if a Jew wastes seed, or if a Jew is intimate with a non-Jew, then yes, if they don't do tshuva, they'll have to go to Gehinnom. And part of their tikkun will be their brit, yeah. As far as Avram putting the thing on them, no, Avram doesn't do anything of that. Every time a person makes a sin, their neshama gets impacted. You don't see it on the body, but their neshama is. So they could have, for example, they could have a physical arm, but they made so many sins with their hand that their neshama is missing an arm. They made so many sins with their eyes so that they're missing one of the eyes. So their neshama could have literally holes in it or missing parts because of the sins, even though their body is fully formed and they're even an athlete. Now, in order to fix that, they have to either do tshuva during their lifetime or do the things that come after, if it's possible to fix. But as far as the whole concept of Avraham Avinu helping people that are in Gehinnom, he's only helping people that were protecting their brit. And their sins are minimal in comparison to the sins that are commonplace today. He's not talking about people that have mechalel Shabbat, heretics, and wasting seed every day. He's when it says that Avraham Avinu will help those that have Brit Milah, it's talking about people that did not waste seed, that still have a Brit that's a Brit Kodesh, that any sins they made were accidental, not intentional. So, quite frankly, a lot of the stuff that people read, they either misunderstand or somebody misunderstands and then tells them that in a lecture. So there's no free lunch. Let's just say that. There is a lot of ways that a person can fix themselves, but if they're not careful in how they act, if they're not knowledgeable of what God commanded them to do, they have no chance. Israel has the greatest defense in the world. That's all you need to know. Yeah, it's called God. HaShem. That's why they still exist. They don't exist because they have an army. We survived before the army. We'll survive after the army. Rabbi, are you more compelled to Hasidic or Lithuanian writings or both? I read whatever is true. I'm a Sephardi Jew, but I read Torah from anyone that I can. I have series of lectures from Sephardi Chachamim and Ashkenazi Chachamim. We have two series. Rav Elchanan Wasserman was Ashkenazi. the Chazon Ish, which is Ashkenazi. We have Igeret HaKodesh, Igeret HaRamban, that's the Ramban, that was Sephardi. We have Igeret HaGrad, that was Ashkenazi. We have Pirkei Avot, which is the sages of the times of the Mishnah, which was Sfaradi. I don't believe Ashkenazi came into reality yet at the time of the Mishnah. Again, it's not. They were either in Babylon or in Jerusalem. There is a Chachamim that we mentioned from all parts of Judaism. Doesn't matter whether they're Hasidish, Ashkenazi, Sephardi. If it's truth, if it's Torah, then we learn it, we teach it. It's all good. Okay, Rabotai. I think, Baruch Hashem, is it okay to update the Torah? No, not to change the Torah. Can being Jewish be a race? No, it's not. It's not a race. Do you read any Ladino, Yiddish, or Judeo-Arabic? Well, the Me'am Loez was originally written in Ladino, but then it was translated to English and then Hebrew. So I've read the Me'am Loez. What do you think of the Hanukkah? I don't. I think about HaShem. I think about people that I need to help. I think about the Torah that I need to learn. I think about all of the projects that I have. Last night, after Rabbi Ephraim and I learned some Shulchan Aruch, he asked me what I'm working on, and I started reading off all the different projects that I have, and it took, I don't know, almost 40 minutes to go through the list, and I wasn't finished yet, just reading them. I have all these each one's full of things. So I think about all the things that I need to do. I think about how people don't understand that when I tell them that I can't have a phone call or I can't have a meeting, it's not something personal. I literally don't have time to breathe, to think, to do anything that is just not part of the bigger plan. So the point is, Rabotai, I don't have time to think about other people. I don't have time to think about anything that's not part of my life. If somebody's doing good and he's glorifying Hashem's name, Chazak Baruch. If he's not doing good, if he's cheating people, if he's lying to people, then Hashem will punish them. I don't have time for that. I don't think about what is this guy and what is that guy. Anytime that I mention somebody in my lecture to warn you guys about, it's because I know that it's necessary to warn the people because they're falling into a trap. And if I don't warn them, no one else will. Simple. So then it becomes my business. But as far as what somebody else does in the world, I don't have time to think about people. The Legends of the Jews, the book by Josephus Flavius, is to be taken literally or no? Can it be used as a scholar source? Josephus had several names, and in fact, some of the Rishonim and even the Geonim say that Josephus was actually one of the Tana, was a Tana Kadosh, and they use him as a source anytime that what he says does not contradict the Torah. There are times that some of the statements that he says, historical information and so on, contradicts the Torah. So therefore they don't use him as a source there. But many other times Some of the Rishonim, some of the Achronim used Josephus as a source and as a reliable source because he was a holy Tana. He was a holy Tana. Like at the time of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Tana like, in the time of Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinos. So you have to understand, though, that whatever you read, you have to be careful with understanding what's for and what's against the Torah. But as far as Chachamim have used them as a source, not just as a scholarly source, as a source that is superior to other sources, because he was not only a person that was well informed of different things that happened, but he was also a tzaddik. He was a Talmid Chacham. He was Kodesh Kodashim. So this is not what the world knows about him. A lot of people in the world think that he was a liar or a cheater and all types of other things, which is very stupid. But you have to make sure that before you conclude something, you do some research about it. Okay, Rabotai. Thank you very much for learning with me. Anyone that wants to support, especially the big things, the big news that we have coming very, very, very soon. We have, like I told you, all these projects. I gave you a hint of one of the big projects. We have 3 books that Baruch HaShem are going to be in the market, going to be distributed in the next few months, B'ezrat HaShem. One of them is in English, 2 in Hebrew. We have another book that's Baruch HaShem going to reach the next stage. We have, and these are not small projects. These are big projects, but it took a lot of time, years. But there's much more big news that's coming very, very, very soon. So anyone that wants to support, this is the time to do it. Yes, we're going to have some campaigns. Yes, we're going to have some other things to do, but don't wait. If you have the ability and the motivation, do it as soon as you can, because who knows what tomorrow promises, like we learned in the first hour of this lecture. Prepare your eternity today, because that way there won't be any surprises. Kol tu b'chot v'yeshuot. B'ezrat HaShem, we'll learn again next week.
I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend. We did it. AI Rabbi is here. It's an AI model that is based on kosher Torah sources, 30 different languages that are available to you. So if you want to ask it in Spanish, in Chinese, Portuguese, whatever you want to do, it's available for you. Can you tell me about Rabbi Akiva? So it's time-stamped to the shiur. You press this green button, AI Rabbi, on your WhatsApp. You'll have the ability to ask questions at will. You'll be provided sources, and most importantly, you'll be able to know the truth and be able to rely on the sources.